Hello and welcome back to another video. We have quite the story today. So before I get started, I did just want to take a quick moment and say that this is an incredibly recent situation. Today is Monday, May 5th, and this took place over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So this is, yes, incredibly recent. This is something that is still like fresh to the people that were involved. And so this is in no way meant to like make light of that. And so I just want to make sure I'm acknowledging that like these are real people whose lives, were affected. They spent a lot of money, a lot of time. And, for some people, this was a huge investment. Obviously, depending on someone's financial situation, depends on how much this truly affected them. Further than that, feels like a betrayal. So I just want to make sure we're all going into this video with the best of intentions. This isn't meant to exploit anyone, I guess is what I'm saying in the videos. I just want to share this event that happened, and I actually will provide some ways you can help the authors and those who were affected. So that said, let's settle into this video. I came across this topic of conversation yesterday. And so I had quite a few things that I was seeing just about this book convention that was kind of going off the rails. Now, I have never been to a book convention. I've been to, cons of other types, but this is definitely something new to me. And it seems like the standard is that authors or vendors of like bookish stuff, they will rent tables like at any other kind of convention. There are certain authors who are like recruited essentially, I guess, to be like featured authors, and sometimes they get stuff paid for, their hotels, their tables, whatever. There's panels. There are like author meet and greets. Indie authors do great bringing books that they can sell for their own books at the convention. So it seems like a really fun time if it's well planned. This one was not so well planned, and seems like it may or may not have been something a little off from the very beginning of this whole thing, like a year and a half ago when they announced it. So I'm going to start with the first thread situation, the first way that I heard of this taking place. Now, we are talking about the A Million Lives book festivals. This took place over this past weekend in Baltimore, Maryland. This seems as though it maybe was open to all types of books, but it definitely seems to lean more into romance and fantasy, and a lot of focus on indie authors, which is awesome. So this is where I first heard of it. Hope Davis, author, writes, "So many people are asking what happened at A Million Lives Book Festival, so I'm going to try to sum it up. Authors were charged a $150 table fee and told at some point 500 to 600 tickets were sold. Only about 50 people showed up. There were no badges as promised. When asked, we were told they all arrived broken, but there was no replacement, so anyone could just come and go, as there was no way to verify who was an author/reader or a random person off the street." I'm going to do my best to save my commentary till I'm done reading this, but that's insane. And also, how does a badge break? What are they talking about? Some authors paid extra to sponsor the event. The items/info they sent to sponsor the event disappeared into the void. I'm assuming this is like items to put into a swag bag, stickers and like little goodies, extras, things that go along with their books. That's what they would have been paying for, and they like just disappeared into thin air apparently. Attendees and sponsors were promised swag bags and none were delivered. Some bags were handed out, but they were event themed for the event and did not feature sponsor information. There were no decorations for the ball or signing. There wasn't food as promised, nor did I see a cash bar at the ball as promised. No official schedule was ever posted of the panels. And that's like a huge reason why people go to these events, is to go to see panels. So that's a choice. Panel authors were given very little information on the panels, and some authors never even received the information for the panels they were on. Panels were too large, with the panel members exceeding those attending the panel in almost all cases. There was no music at the ball, no way to make announcements. The event organizer would simply shout when it was time for lunch break, etc. But the room wasn't actually closed for lunch, making it difficult for authors to feel okay about stepping away from their tables. There's probably more, honestly. I didn't see everything that was going on. This is just what I saw and experienced. I don't think any author made a profit, and most, like myself, didn't even sell enough to make their table fee. Thanks so much to the other authors that bought from me, which is the only reason I'm not crying in a corner right now. I took a huge loss on the weekend, but at least I sold something. I sent most of the 100 books I ordered for this event with Katie Reads and Writes, but I can't imagine what some authors are going through right now trying to ship books back or return them because they can't take them with them. Happy to answer any more questions you have via DM on IG. So I think what she's saying is that she was like able to send her books with a friend home so she didn't have to spend money to ship them back to where she's from because, I mean, shipping is expensive, and shipping something as heavy as books can be very expensive. So the fact that she sent them all out there for nothing, I mean, that's pretty bad. Here is something that was posted by the company. So the company that put this on was called Archer Fantasy Events, and they seem to have done an incredibly terrible job advertising and promoting this event, like pretty much none, because no one really knew it was happening unless they were an invited author. There are many people who have posted responses and videos, which I will be sharing with you in just a minute, but almost all of the ones that I saw were like, I was reached out to as a featured author for this event, yada. And so I'm like, was everyone a featured author? Because that seems like a good little way to scam someone into coming, telling them, okay, you're going to be a featured author, we're going to pay for everything, then not actually being able to follow through with those things, but that person's already there. So I don't know, speculation, 100% speculation. However, that's a theory. So Archer Fantasy Events posted this on April 22nd. A Million Lives Book Festival, May 2nd and 3rd, Baltimore Convention Center. They're selling 40% off tickets a week before the event, which is not really a great sign. 2 weeks, a week and a half, whatever. Lavender Romance Ball Aesthetics, whatever that means. Lavender Romance Ball is only available with Dream Maker tickets. And people commented on this after the event happened. You did the vendors absolutely dirty this weekend, will not be coming back. Hope you plan to refund every author for failure to deliver on contracted obligations and for downright lying to them about ticket sales and events during your festival. Downright disgusting and disrespectful. Do better. The Fire Festival of Book Events. My heart goes out to all the vendors that showed up for you. While a lot of people are referring to this as the Fire Fest of book festivals, I think this is way more like the Wonka Experience in Scotland, which can't tell you how many bad days that memory has gotten me through, of the like Oompa Loompa girl that's like doing chemistry. Like, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to put a link down below, which has nothing to do with books, but does have to do with getting me through some hard times last year because I would think about this and just crack up. So yes, if you know, you know, the Wonka Festival. If you don't know, please go check it out because it's hilarious. Anyways, someone commented on Hope Davis's thread. It sounds like the people who organized the event didn't even show up. Was the entire thing a scam? And a commenter says, she did, but it was literally only her and her husband that ran the whole entire thing. No volunteers or paid assistants. And the other girl comes back. Could it just have been their first event and they were just overwhelmed and unprepared? Which is, you know, an explanation, however, not an excuse. But it doesn't matter anyways because this isn't her first event. Wow, that's really unfortunate. Sounds like it will definitely be their last. So the event director did put out the most pathetic of statements. So now I will show you that. It is embarrassing.
Hi everybody. I am wanting to issue a formal apology. I do understand that the ball tonight was not set up to standards. There were a lot of issues with getting set up and it was not set up well. I want to apologize. If you would like a refund, please contact me and I will issue a refund immediately. Thank you.
No accountability. Video was about 10 seconds long, had, in my opinion, no emotion behind it at all. And she really didn't address any of the issues except for, like, do you want a refund? You have to reach out to me. In my opinion, everyone should just be granted automatic refunds, and she needs to take the loss for all the money that she put into this, which honestly can't seem like it's that much. Because that's just, I mean, wait till I show you some pictures because this is just wild. So there was another vendor that was there that was called Custom Sprayed Edges. I'm assuming this is not an author. This is a vendor that was there. Raise your hand if you were personally victimized by A Million Lies Book Festival. Funny. I have many, many thoughts, but I'm trying to keep it civil. Yes, I am in the hole a good chunk of change, as are, I think, literally every single author and vendor. I've seen many posts of people asking how they can help. Atlas Creed is putting together a list of everyone who was there and their website links, so check that out. I will be posting that down below in my description, so please check that out. If any of these authors, any other books sound good to you, please consider purchasing them. This isn't anything to do with me. I'm not like getting a kickback, just in case that would have been put into question. No. I just would love to have anyone that reads these genres check out their books and see if you can find something you might want to purchase, just to kind of help them get out of this hole. Anyways, Custom Sprayed Edges goes on. This event has tainted all future events for me. I will no longer be attending any events in their first year outside of Book Harvest. I want those events to do well, but I'm no longer willing to be the financial guinea pig for the first time events. The way the US economy is headed, I'm not willing to risk it. Shit is hard enough without event hosts taking advantage of authors and vendors. In that same vein, I am over the lack of communication. This isn't the first event I have attended that has horrible communication. This just happens to be the first event where that poor communication costs vendors and authors hundreds and thousands of dollars. BookCon hosts, stop sending important information out via Facebook or Discord or social media. If you aren't communicating via email, that's a huge red flag. For sure. Put things out on Instagram and Facebook and whatever, but then also send an email, because plenty of people don't use those platforms or don't use them regularly enough that they're going to see everything. And if someone's paying you for something, then you should be delivering that information right to them. They shouldn't have to go searching for it. That's just seems like a good business practice. I don't know. I have so many more thoughts, but at the moment, I'm trying to figure out how to come back from the financial loss of this event. If you see me running any sale or promotions in the near future, y'all know why. The silver lining, though, was all of the amazing authors and vendors who band together and kept each other afloat. If I didn't have slanted shelf books and so many authors to talk to and commiserate with, I truly would have gone home in tears. Events like this are so defeating, but the people are what kept us going. And Slanted Shelf Books says we are full of trauma bonds. So I do love that, I guess, aspect of this whole thing, is just how people can still kind of find each other and find comfort in the fact that they're not going through this alone. But man, it sucks when the way things are in the United States, everywhere really, but, financially, the economy's horrible right now. And so putting yourself out there, investing your time and your money into a festival, a thing like this, expecting to at least get some kickback to cover the cost of what you are doing there. I mean, it's like, you're taking a risk, but to basically have been set up for failure from the get-go is pretty heartbreaking. So before I show you what some of these event spaces looked like, the tickets were available in 3 tiers. There was Page Turner, $50. This ticket includes access to our vendor hall, cosplay meetups, and content creation room only on May 3rd, whatever the hell a content creation room is. I've never been to a convention like this, so I don't know. Maybe someone else knows. You could do the Cloud Walker for $150. This ticket includes access to our vendor hall, cosplay meetups, panels, and event swag bag, and content creation room on May 2nd and 3rd. And the Dream Maker tier, this ticket includes access to our vendor hall, cosplay meetups, panels, event swag bag, and content creation on May 2nd and 3rd, and access to our Lavender Romance Ball. Just the grammar of the and the wording of this would raise red flags for me, just because if these are supposed to are also like professionals in the book literary industry, we should be prioritizing correct sentence structure and grammar in our promotional materials. That goes for any industry really, but I don't know, it's kind of interesting. So yeah, even if you only paid $50 for this first tier, you're basically just being said, okay, you can go into the hall and then spend money. That's not, you're not getting anything. People don't go, I mean, sure, some people go to these to just walk around, but you shouldn't have to pay for that if you're going in to spend money. It's panels and stuff that people go, as far as across, oceans to go to stuff like this. So that's kind of sketch. Anyways, here is a video now of the Lavender Romance Ball. It's got music, but I can't play it, so you don't need it. Just check out what's going on here. We are in an empty basement convention hall that is empty. We've got, it's just, this is crazy. There's no decorations. There's no anything. It doesn't look like there's a bar set up. There's no food. Like, this is bizarre. And these people are paying a lot of money to be here. So that video was posted by this author, Caitlin Platt. And she writes, "In a million lives was supposed to be me dipping my toes into bigger events. I knew it was its first year and it likely wouldn't go 100% the way it should, but I expected normal convention things, badges, signage, a printed schedule of events, a sign-in process. Not a huge expectation to have. That seems pretty reasonable expectations. I am a small-time author. The money I make from one event usually goes to fund the table fee for the next. And I took a financial risk with this one. More expensive table fee, hotel for 2 nights, travel food, more stock than I ever have. This was something. I'm out the cost of books, the table fee, the 2 nights in a hotel. Sold 4 books over the course of 2 days. We were told 500 plus people had registered for this event, but me and my bestie looked beautiful. And that was what I just showed you, that video. And that just breaks my heart. They did look beautiful, and I hope that they at least had fun with each other, but my gosh, this is just horrible. So from another author, Percy J, fantasy author, we get POV from the ball that just happened. And I can't play the music again with this, but it starts with like the "Welcome to Jurassic Park," and then it like goes into this like squeaky, like out of tune violin music. So I will get to the list of excuses that have been made by the event director, coordinator, whatever. But first I'm going to give you a thread by an attendee, someone that was not involved in the book, like author side of it. So A Life Between the Pages says, just an attendee for this festival, I'm going to first note that my loss and impact is literally pebbles compared to the boulders of problems authors/vendors faced. Very nice, but I think we can all be upset. I will then continue by saying I do not regret attending because of the people and the amazing work I was able to see. If only a small amount showed up, I'm glad I got to be one of them. That being said, here's what the issues were from an attendee perspective and as someone who has run events in the past. There was zero advertisement, communication, hype, details, schedule, anything shared prior to arrival. Not only no posted schedule, but the schedule shifted continuously throughout the event. I would lose my mind. I am such a planner and I need to like know exactly what I'm doing, and I would not be in a good spot. 2, walking into a tiny table with zero signage and all our stuff got damaged was a serious red flag. You mean in this day and age, if you checked on your shit in advance, as you should, you couldn't find a same-day printer and at least do something? I don't know what was promised for attendance, but walking around, I felt so disheartened for the authors because of how few people I saw. I made sure to stop and say hi to every single person because you are all badass and deserve all the praise. Hopefully those who were there made you feel that way. No one knew when the panels were being ran / where they were / what the topics were. The authors should have been personally reminded the time when to come if signage wasn't available. Then loudspeaker announcements beforehand should have been used to get attendees to go and direct them where. No excuses, that's a huge fuck up. Loved the panels I attended, but it wasn't what they're supposed to be for both panelists and audience. People were sitting on the floor because they didn't have chairs for these panels. So that's a thing. Overlapping events, panels and cosplay, for example, did a disservice to people in both because it split potential audiences. There was plenty of time to allow each group their own time. At this point, there were a shit ton of red flags, from being told swag bags would be at the ball to whispers of issues with the DJ. But I held out hope there was good intent and maybe too much went into the ball and not enough to other details. The story with that is that the DJ apparently got sick, and they were the one bringing the equipment, the like amps and stuff. So like they had to use, as you saw, a little Bluetooth speaker for the music for the ball. Clearly that was not the case. The room, which we paid extra to come dress up and stand in, was a concrete room that looked like the event after the staff clears everything away with zero decor and no music. The security guard took pity and let people use his little JBL speaker. Finally, the terrible in-person apology and tone-deaf online apology which alludes to the thought that the ball was the only issue. That was annoying, but the least damaging one to the authors/vendors, and I hope they stand by their offer to refund, but they need to do more. We made the best of it and still had a fun weekend, but from every angle, this was a fucking scam, and I hope that shows in the consequences to those who made it that way. Sorry for my novel, but anyway, thank you to every single artist, author, vendor, narrator, etc. from this weekend, and I look forward to supporting you and reading every single page I can of your amazing work and supporting in whatever way I can. I'm done now. Oh, and we never got our swag bag included in the higher ticket level, but that was like the literally least of the problems, which is wild. So obviously this is really, really bad. And it is nice to hear it from someone who, you know, didn't have nearly the financial stake in this event as the authors, because, you know, it might have been a different opinion and someone from the outside might have been able to see a different persona, I guess, from the event coordinators and all that. But no, it seems like it was pretty fair from all of it. So now I want to go over to an author named Percy J, who had made that previous video. She did like a multi-part series on TikTok, which really explains the event from her eyes, which I thought was a really entertaining and good way to kind of get this information.
Oh yes, everyone. This was real. This was a real fantasy ball that I just attended not even 12 hours ago. Hi, I'm Percy J, and I attended the Million Lives Book Festival in Baltimore. It was even worse than what you're seeing. It is 6 a.m., I have no voice, my body hurts, but I'm not getting sleep, so I might as well tell y'all exactly what happened. And this is going to be a video done in multiple parts because there's no way I could even fit this all into 10 minutes. But yes, I'm still in bed. We'll talk about where I am in a second. And I'm in my pajamas because it's literally less embarrassing to be seen as a Dallas Cowboys fan than it was to be an author at this event. Before I get into the tea, I need to set some ground rules. Everything I'm talking about is something that I have seen with my own eyeballs or heard with my own ears. Even if I did experience it, it's not my story to tell, I have permission from others to tell the story. And if I do put tea in here that I did not personally experience but only knew through other people, I will let you know that all of those facts are alleged, but are important to the context of the overall story. So before we talk about the viral disaster that was that ball, I have to channel my inner AP US history teacher and go to the events leading up to section. Because this story starts 18 months ago, because that's when we all put our deposits down. So I put down my $150 table fee back in February of 2024. I am not from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm from Texas, which, yes, besties, I flew out for this. But I got in because a lot of my friends were going too, and I knew a lot of people attending, because the creator reached out to a lot of people who were already pretty prominent in the Indieverse sphere. And honestly, I was like, the table fee's $150, why not? I paid more to get events, and because so many people were going that I wanted to see and hang out with. I planned a lot of major life events around A Million Lives. I'm currently pregnant with twins. I planned my pregnancy around this event like a clown. I scheduled my uncle-in-law's funeral around this event. I even paid extra to sponsor this event. And let's get into that, shall we? Because you know I brought the receipts, girl. Beat the date. After Christmas of 2024, I reached out to Archer Fantasy Events to sponsor A Million Lives. I ended up picking the highest tier of sponsorship. So I was like, $250, why not? It's a good deal. So I was supposed to get my logo on the website, an author takeover day in the Facebook group, an author focus day with several posts about me and my books on social media, a medium window or floor decal, where those were supposed to go, I don't know, and my logo on the tote bag. Now, I have been to other events before where I've seen events do all of these things for other people. So I sent them all of my things, my headshots, my covers, my logo, all that stuff. And on January 20th, they received my $250. So if anyone wants to come out and say that I never actually paid for anything, and if you're confused, Book Lover was a free sponsorship tier. And by free, that just means if you bring swag, like stickers, bookmarks, art, whatever, people have done wax melts in the past, candles, those get put in the swag bags for the VIP attendees. But we'll get to the swag bags in a minute. Put it in that. Hold on to that for a minute. I'm trying to explain this in chronological order. But after that email exchange, it's pretty much crickets. I did not, in fact, get my author takeover day in the Facebook group. There was not a single post about me or my books on Archer Management socials. And we also never got confirmation for how many items we needed to bring for the VIP swag bags. And I was just thinking, Percy, why didn't you say something earlier whenever you knew that this wasn't going to be done? Because at the end of January, I got pregnant with my twins. And I stopped being active on social media for a while just because of the fatigue and the sickness. And frankly, I came into this event thinking, you know what, it's $250. Whatever. It's not worth my piece. But little did I know that peace was never an option. About 2 weeks before the event, I actually went on the event's website to see what I was actually, getting into. And I started counting the number of authors, vendors, and narrators that were actually coming to the event. It was slated at somewhere around 120. Those kind of numbers are huge, but I had not seen any advertising on behalf of the management company for this event. And I looked up a lot of these authors, and a lot of them were brand new on the scene, fresh new indie authors. And the math was not mathing in my brain, because you cannot have 100+ authors, vendors, narrators, and not advertise. And then I saw the only posts on Archer Fantasy Events socials were offering the tickets at 40% off. That's when I knew that ain't nobody was coming. That's when I knew. I luckily did not ship any books to Baltimore. I just took what I could fit in my suitcase. But we'll get to that later. So I was going to stay with my friend and fellow author Attendee. We were going to be staying at the Hilton that is connected to the Baltimore Convention Center. Does it look like I'm in the Hilton to you? Attendee was a featured authors got their rooms paid for free by Archer Fantasy Events, allegedly. And on the Wednesday before we all flew out, the featured authors got an email saying, hey, my rep at the Hilton has not been answering my phone calls or emails over the past week. I was in this situation over a month ago. And said that she couldn't confirm bookings. And so she was instead moving all the featured authors to the Days Inn across the street. Y'all look at this. There are freaking scratch marks on this bed, bro. And we are authors with these heavy suitcases and boxes. This place did not have a wheelchair ramp. My pregnant ass had to be carrying these 50+ pound suitcases upstairs. And so my expectations are getting lower and lower and lower. The bar was on the floor, but it went to hell real fast. More coming in part 2, because I told y'all this would be long. Welcome to part 2 of my experience at the Book Talk Fire Festival, A Million Lies, DashCon 2.0, whatever you guys want to call this event. And I'm sorry I'm heading back from the airport, so the lighting is terrible and the sound quality is probably garbage. But y'all have waited long enough for the tea, so I'm giving you the tea. So we left off at the Leadup, and now let's talk about the actual event. So before we get into the events of the day, let's talk about who got access to what. So I know people are aware that to get into the ball, you had to pay $250, but there were more tiers to tickets that got you into certain events. So the base ticket was the page turner. It was $50 or $55 you had to pay additional fees. And this got you access to the vendor hall on Saturday, May 3rd, cosplay meetups, and the content creation room. Remember the content creation room, we'll go back to that later. I know what you're thinking. You mean people paid $50 to walk around the convention hall, meet up with cosplayers, and get access to this mysterious content creation room? Yes, yes, it did. But for $150, you got more! So this is one of the VIP tickets. You got access to the convention hall where we all were selling our books and stuff on May 2nd and 3rd. You got the cosplay meetups, which I have no idea what happened with this. I do not know if this was a flop or if this was cool. I don't know. You got access to the panels, and we'll get to the panels in a minute. You got an event swag bag. Remember how in the last video I told you to put a pin in that? We were going to talk about the swag bags. These are going to come into play again. And you get the content creation room. What could be in this mystical room, I wonder? But stay tuned, hold on. Then, for the infamous $250 price tag, you got the Dream Maker ticket. This got vendor hall for both days, cosplay meetups, panels, event swag bag, content creation room, and access to the ball. So, if you were just a normal VIP, you had to pay $100 extra to get into the Magical Fantasy Cafeteria that was the Lavender Romance Ball. But now with that basic knowledge, let's get to the event. So registration started at 8, and the authors and vendors all went to the event to start setting up as early as 7 a.m. Only problem is, we weren't given directions on how to get to the convention. For those of you who don't know, usually whenever you fly into bookish events, we move our stuff with suitcases. So we're bopping around the streets of Baltimore at 7 a.m. with these suitcases full of like 70-pound books. Nary an instruction in sight. There's no signs, just streamers and balloons saying, hey, book festival this way. Don't know where the event organizer is, but security came in clutch and helped us navigate the convention center. And that will be a recurring theme. The security at the convention center was 10 out of 10. They deserve all the praise. I'm getting ahead of myself. So this was the original author vendor narrator setup. I was number 2 over here. All my friends and other authors and vendors that I knew were also on the same row with me, so I was so jazzed to be with my friends. But we'll get back to that later. Yeah, but when we got into the convention center, this was not the setup. Some of you who may have been to convention before see the setup and go, hold up, I don't know if it's gonna fly with flyer code. And guess what? This wasn't gonna fly with flyer code. So this was all completely different. Instead of having 2 big rows and then a bunch of like other rows like this, it was all just up and down horizontal, which completely messed up everybody's table setup. No one knew where they were going. It was absolute chaos. Also, we got an email from the event coordinator a few days before the event saying, let's clear up some rumors, which that's a heck of a way to start an email, I'll tell you what. But she said, I don't know what people are saying, we'll have tables, and we'll have tablecloths. I'm like, that's kind of a given. I really wonder why this is an issue. But the tables were indeed there. The tablecloths, however, were not. And of course, you're setting up the table, you have to put the tablecloth on first. So a lot of people are sitting around on their tables waiting for these magical tablecloths to appear. Luckily, because authors and vendors and narrators are the best people in the world, we were helping each other out. A lot of people had extra tablecloths they were letting each other borrow. I brought my own. There were a few tablecloths the event provided, but they were already packaged and there weren't very many of them. So that was tough getting set up. So the vendor hall opened at 10 a.m. and the attendees started rolling in. But keep in mind, this is Friday, so this is a VIP only event. So only the people who paid for either the Cloudwalker or the Dreamwalkers could come to this event. Y'all, there were maybe 30 people. And this is an all-day situation. I don't even know if this panel happened. We had our lunch break at noon, and to announce the lunch break, the event organizer walked into the event hall and just screamed that we're taking a lunch break. No bullhorn, no PA system, just everybody get out. But also, here's the tea. The event hall wasn't locked for lunch break. People didn't want to abandon their tables if people were still there. Also, we didn't have badges. The badges broke. The VIP ticket holders didn't have swag bags. The swag bags were thrown away by the convention center. When you registered with a wristband. For both authors and attendees had the same wristbands. Some of them, not everybody had a wristband. I didn't. And the people who donated items for the swag bags, yeah, they were just told those were thrown away. And so that's why no one had anything. And so I know you're thinking there must have been a replacement for all of this. There must have been something. No. I was like, what is going on upstairs on the ground floor of the convention hall? You know what the grand entrance was for this magical book festival? This is it! The convention hall provided that sign. Those Ketchum Buster looking things on the table, those are the wristbands. No there is nary a streamer, or a helium balloon, or a banner. Anything to say, hey, this is the event you paid $150 for. Come on down. Even though I know these videos have gotten a lot of attention and everyone knows who everyone is at this point, I still blurred out faces to protect identity just because I don't play the game. But this was the event coordinator at registration. This was Friday morning. But yeah. So we get back from lunch and start selling books. And I attended the Writing Diversity BIPOC panel because one of my really good friends was a panelist I wanted to watch and learn. It did not take place at 1. I couldn't remember if it was like 1:30 or 2 or what, but it was not at this time. But tell me why you put the BIPOC panel on the day where it was VIP only so fewer people would come to it. Do you not know about the Cool Prince cosplay meetup? And it's these people in some awesome cosplays, I have no idea what happened there. And then the Bookish Song Collective performance? No idea about that. I have no idea if that ever happened or what. And I know what you're thinking, Percy, you were leaning really hard in that content creation room earlier. What's the deal with that? So the content creation room was open on Friday. I don't have a picture of it, but I'm gonna need you to trust me. You know that infamous picture from DashCon with the ball pit in the empty room? Picture that exactly without the ball pit. And they're thinking, Percy, do you mean to tell me that this content creation room that was billed as an amenity was just an empty conference room for people just to walk into and stand in? Yes, I am. So by the end of Friday, we're like, okay, we're all feeling gut punched because only 40 people showed up. We're trying to figure out how we can either cover our table fees or, God forbid, figure out a way to ship all of our extra books home. Because normally you ship books to the event, you don't pack stuff in your suitcase. Like, not only are we taking a loss on sales not sold, we're gonna have to take a loss on shipping books back. But we all calm down like, yo, look, this was just VIP day. We were told there's gonna be 500 tickets sold. Maybe the rest of them are the $50 general admission tickets. So we're just gonna see this huge crowd on Saturday. And then everything's gonna be okay. But spoiler alert, friends, it got even worse. Tune in for part 3. Welcome back to the latest installment of the Wonka Experience with books. This is part 3 of what happened at a Million Lives Festival in Baltimore. So I'm at home, I'm in bed because I've used up all my mobility tokens for the next 3 days, and so I need to rest. But I started with a headboard, might as well end with a headboard, you know, keep it on theme. So in part 1, we had the lead up to the event. Part 2, we had Friday, the VIP day. And so this is part 3, Saturday, May 3rd, general admission day, where 500 people, or 600 depending on when you heard it, were supposed to attend. But in the fairness of TikTok journalism, I have to share everything about my experience, both the bad and the good. So on Saturday morning, we get to the convention center, and the event has doubled their decorations. Because this sign appeared at the front! We finally have a sign with an arrow giving direction to the registration table! And it matches the original sign over here. So that was a good omen for the day. We took that as improvement. Unfortunately, though, the content creation room was unavailable. My friends and I were so excited to go create content in this designated area for posterity's sake, but we were told the content creation room was closed due to technical difficulties. So whatever that means aside, if you paid $55 to be here on Saturday, the content creation room that you were promised is no longer a thing. So you paid $55 to walk around the convention hall. And I guess technically to do cosplay meetups. So one of the amenities was just meeting with other people in a public place. But at this point, we're not even sure if people were actually getting registered. There was no way to tell who was an attendee, who was an author or vendor, or who was just a random person from the convention center who just happened to go to the basement. And so yes, that wasn't fair to the people who paid a large sum of money just to get access to the space. But as an author, I was just happy that there were people. And just like the signs, it wasn't omen like I said. Just as the decorations doubled, so did the attendance. We went from 40 to 80. And like I said, there was no way to actually count because we couldn't tell who was an attendee and who wasn't. But there were other issues from day one that bled into day two. For example, there were mixed messages about this being a family-friendly event or this being an event where the romance authors could like offer their, wares. Some people were told they could bring their kids and did. And I'm talking babies, toddlers, middle schoolers. And some authors were told that it's perfectly fine to display their not safe for work spicy art prints. So you got some art with, Frankenbeans and tater tots out. Some vendors had lovely crocheted male appendages that were for sale. And I definitely am not holding one just slightly off camera right now. Let's bring it back to the panels. We talked about that in part 2. I was supposed to be on a panel, I guess. Don't know when it started. No one knew when the panel started. I was never procured from my table and said, hey, go talk to the panel. So I just didn't go. But then we did the narrator panel, where you have these lovely, talented professional narrators giving their expertise and knowledge to an audience. But when they got to their panel, there were no chairs. And remember, I said that I'm only going to report on what I saw with my own eyeballs, because I'm at my table hustling my books, and my buddy Jim walks over and says, you will never guess what's happening upstairs. Your talent was on the floor. Your paying attendees were on the floor. And the disrespect doesn't stop there. First of all, we had a lovely tattoo artist who was at the event giving flash tattoos. And I interacted with her for a total of like 10 seconds because my friend was getting tattooed and I was just, admiring the work. But she seemed really professional and very concentrated on what she was doing. Apparently, according to the tattoo artist, the event coordinator was saying very negative things about the tattoo artist during the event to the attendees. I'm not going to tell the tattoo artist story, that's hers to tell. But if you are in shock and awe that an event coordinator is talking poorly about someone she invited to the event during the event while they're still there, oh honey. So I remember back in part 2 when I brought up this map, and I was super excited to be with all of my friends over in this row. And remember back in part 1 when I said that I was only going to report on what I saw with my own eyes and ears, but I was going to bring up an allegedly one time. And for those of you who are patient, this is it. So allegedly, my friends and I were all put up against the wall because we're the problem children, and we're loud and inappropriate and don't want to be an embarrassment to the event. Now obviously I didn't hear this with my own ears, which is why I say that allegedly very hard. But this was said before the event. But according to some other authors, vendors, and attendees, the coordinator was still talking mad nonsense about us during the event, calling us difficult to work with, calling some of us divas. And so allegedly, the event coordinator and I had beef, which is odd because honestly, I don't even know who she is, so this is a surprise to me. But again, this is all allegedly. And other than just the straight up disrespect, there was also some more unfulfilled promises. Like we had no water, like not even a water bottle on our tables. We were promised snacks, there were no snacks. And aside from the allegedly disrespectful reason why I was put at the table I was put at, some people didn't like the heavily pregnant lady, yeah, that's me sitting on the floor, I'm big, was put at a table that was far away from the bathrooms. And that I didn't really care about, so I would just go up the escalator to the cleaner bathrooms that were on the ground floor of the convention center. But needless to say, an extraordinary level of disrespect for the people who paid to be at your event, what was there? It was apparent to everyone involved. And they're sitting here thinking, Percy, quit yapping, we want to hear about the ball. And I know y'all know what the ball looked like. What y'all don't know is what happened at the ball. Because I've seen a lot of people talk about the ball, but there's specific information that I witnessed that has not come out yet. And friends, we have another surprise. A twist ending, if you will. As I was filming this video, I got a notification from the event coordinator that she emailed us. And I want to see what's in that email. So I guess we're going to have a part 4.
So unfortunately, as of the time of me recording this, she has not posted a part 4.
Hi, Editing Laura here. I'm on my phone, so sorry for if I'm shaking the camera. During the process of me editing this video, we got a part 4. So I am going to stick it in right here with the other parts of this video, but I don't have like a ton more commentary to add that is saying anything new. So I'm just gonna present it without commentary.
Welcome to part 4, everyone, and this is the big finale. I know all of you have seen the ball at this point, but everyone was so shocked about the lack of anything at this ball that no one talked about what actually happened at the ball. But as an eyewitness, you know when it comes to the tea. So like all of you have already seen, this was the lavender romance ball that cost $250 American in this economy to attend. But I can't say there was no decorations. And y'all know I'm not about to get on this internet and tell lies. So here's the decor for the ball. These rose petals weren't even silk, they were styrofoam of the highest quality, and these books were placed around on the table as decorations and as party favors. Allegedly, these were the books that were purchased through the bookstore partner that were supposed to be in the swag bags. You know, the books from the bookstore partner that backed out at the last minute. Allegedly, these are the books, I can't confirm. And despite the fact the event started at 7 p.m., of course it didn't even start on time, the doors were still locked until about like 7:15ish. There was no food. There was a small table with just desserts. And as a pregnant lady who ate cheesecake for dinner that evening, I wanted to move for desserts. So I was thinking there were like crackers, a box of Cheez-Its for us to fight over like raccoons something. No, there's nothing else there. But there was a bar, a cash bar. You paid $250 for a ticket to access a cash bar for a $10 tiny little cup of wine. But that didn't bother me personally, I'm pregnant, I don't drink. So I'm trying to see if I can get like a water or a Sprite or something. Yeah, if you want to get like a tiny cup of Sprite, it's gonna be $5. Bottle of water, $5. And keep in mind, earlier in part 3, I told y'all that we didn't even get water bottles as authors as part of the event. Oh no, the bottles were provided, we just had to pay another $5 for them. But just like every good story, the heroes always come through in the end. The first hero of our finale is Speaker Steve! Here he is, everyone, the infamous Bluetooth speaker that provided all of our music for the ball. But don't give credit to the creator for Speaker Steve. This lovely security guard right here took pity on us and brought Speaker Steve from his home just so we could have some music at this ball. So yes, friends, that means the plan for this ball was for us to stand in this giant empty room with no food, a cash bar, and stand there in silence. And a lot of you have been tagging me in the apology video from the creator where she said that she's going to issue refunds for those who request it. But I have tea on the creation of this video that apparently is not well known yet. So this video was filmed at the ball itself. About 30 minutes in. I know you're thinking, it's an apology video, she's issuing refunds, what's the issue? She did not do this video out of the goodness of her heart. Our second hero of this finale is someone that you already heard about in part 1. My friend and fellow author Callista Neath had to go up to her during the ball and confront her about what an absolute mess this was. She rocked up to her in the middle of the ball and went, hey yo, you're gonna issue refunds right now. And she demanded that the creator here make this video, post it on socials, and tag her in it. Go to this video, you will see Callista Neath in the caption tagged. Because if she hadn't said anything, this video would have never happened. But put it in that, we'll come back to this later. In part 3, I told you that it was emailed by the creator, and now I'm gonna show you what the email actually was. I can only assume that after everyone complained about her non-apology, she sent us this email last night. I'm gonna be up here in the corner so y'all can pause to read. Now, I'm not an event coordinator, I'm just the talent who shows up. Other people who know events can call cap on all of that, and I'll save that for them. Allegedly, these refunds will be processed by May 31st, but I'll believe it when I see it. And this also doesn't mention the $250 that myself and the other sponsors paid for nothing. Do you think we were just gonna forget? And if you have watched all 4 parts and stayed with me through this entire saga, here's what I need y'all to understand. This event was marketed to and advertised to new debut authors as their way to connect with readers for the first time. And as someone who debuted 2 years ago, I know exactly how tight finances are at that time. When you are an indie author, you pay for everything yourself up front. And only if you do events like this can you finally recoup the costs. And since the creator is a debut indie author herself, oh yeah, she's a fellow author. She's going to have her book allegedly publishing on June 7th. She should know how much of a financial burden indie author publishing is. And I can sit here on the internet and I can joke about my experience and about the terrible ball and about not having water, but I'm an established author. I've been doing this for over 2 years. I've done events before, I know how it's supposed to go. I'm not gonna be affected by this. But I had to watch these dejected and heartbroken first-time authors pack up boxes upon boxes of books that didn't sell, that they don't know how they're going to get home. Some people flew in from out of state. Some people flew in from out of the country because they were told, your readers are here and this is a good investment. At the end of the second day of signing, I abandoned my table and went around talking to all these new authors. I had to tell them that this kind of event is not normal and what happened was not their fault. Because people are thousands of dollars in debt because of the lies and the mismanagement and the false promises. This wasn't just a bad event. This is a financial disaster. This ruined careers at the very beginning of them. And a lot of those first timers were too afraid to say something. They were too afraid that they were going to get canceled or blackballed if they stood up for themselves. And so that's why I'm here telling the world everything that happened. That is why we are telling everybody what happened. Because it was very clear to us from the outset that if we didn't say something, no one would. And this would continue and other people would have been swindled. So to the creator, if you have the courage to actually watch all of my videos, I have one thing to say to you. It's one thing to do an event and bite off more than you can chew. But you need to accept that you hurt hundreds of people. And merely offering refunds is not enough. These authors and vendors and talent that you use for your own purposes not only need to be compensated, they need to be fully restored for their hotel rooms and the childcare and the travel fees and their meals and everything they spent out of their own pockets for you. Anything less than that is unacceptable. But like I said, this is the end of the story, and every good story has its heroes winning in the end. Despite seeing the red flags, I came to this event for the people. For these people right here and for everyone else who was there. The bookish community has the most talented, kind-hearted, funny, wonderful people to be around. We help each other. We uplift each other. We were still dancing in an empty room at that ball, guys. We were door dashing food for each other and giving each other tablecloths. And if you have not been in this community, I would invite you, welcome in. The vast majority of these fantasy bookish events are incredible. If you're an author, not only do you make friends and network, you can also profit and meet readers. And if you're a reader, you get to meet the best of friends and discover new stories. And if you've gotten this far and wondering how can I help all these people who are affected, check out their books. Indie authors are so talented and have these incredibly unique stories that might be your next favorite. The vendors have very unique products that you don't even know you needed until you walk by the table. So if you want to be another hero of this saga, pick up a book from an indie author you may not have heard of before this event. Because at the end of the day, we're just here to share our stories. Let's make this story have a happy ending, shall we?
So some more threads. We've got what happened at this Million Lives book signing that has y'all comparing it to Readers Take Denver, because that is a very heavy crown. If you're unaware, so this is something that happened, I don't even remember if it was this year or like last year. But this event, it was not their first time. Readers Take Denver was a big convention out there, and it kind of had the opposite problem as far as there were way too many people there and they were not prepared for it, even though they're the ones that sold the tickets. That's the short version, like the extremely short version. If you're into this kind of stuff and, you know, book convention gone wrong, definitely look up just like Readers Take Denver. I'm sure you can find plenty about the absolute disaster that was. So, yeah. Someone replies, we were all legit scammed to a nearly illegal level. She violated so many contracts, especially for featured authors, influencers, and vendors. Promised for months that hundreds of tickets were sold, only to have maybe 100 people show up. And half didn't even have wristbands, so they didn't pay to get in. Not to mention, there was no coordination, no internet, no chairs at one of the panels. The DJ for the ball was a security guard JBL speaker. It looked like a Pokemon card tournament. Every single person left with hundreds, if not thousands, of negative profit. This would be funny if it wasn't so sad. Like, the DJ was a speaker? Yeah. It's not funny because it's real and because so many people have ended up in such a bad place from this. But, man, it feels like a parody, truly. From what I read, literally nothing, as in the organizers did nothing. No sponsored anything, no swag bags, no decor, even their fantasy ball had no music. The security guard felt bad and played music through his portable Bluetooth speaker. No food, no water as promised, and they blamed the hotel for all the missing things, but the hotel manager debunked that gossip. Oh, they said they sold 600 plus tickets and only 50 people showed up. No badges either, so random people could just roll in. Like, this was held at the Baltimore Convention Center. So putting on conventions is what they do. I feel certain that they didn't just lose/break everything you gave them or you had sent there. That's just, I'm just gonna call it, do not believe that at all. So here's another little twisty add-on here. So Four Seasons Books was apparently a small indie bookstore in West Virginia that was approached to be the indie bookstore partner of this festival. And they said, Four Seasons Books was not affiliated with A Million Lives Book Festival at any time. While we were approached by the event organizer to serve as the indie bookstore partner, we ultimately declined after reviewing the event's logistics. On February 25th, 2025, our events manager inquired about the status of ticket sales and anticipated attendees. The organizer stated that they had sold mid-500 tickets, expecting between 600 and 800 attendees. A separate conversation between our team and the organizers took place on February 26, 2025, in which we clearly communicated that we would not be participating. We declined politely and clearly because we were unable to source most of the featured books wholesale and had concerns about logistics. Despite this, we have since learned that our name may have been used in communication with authors or attendees as though we were confirmed partners. This is categorically false. We sincerely apologize to any authors who were misled by that claim and want to be clear. We were not involved with this event. We did not provide books for sale and did not authorize the use of our name. We are heartbroken for the authors who were impacted by poor communication or unmet expectations. We stand firmly for transparency and accountability in literary event planning and will continue to prioritize partnerships that respect and protect authors, booksellers, and readers alike. So that's, they were just screwing people around all over the place. This is clearly not a company that should be putting on events anymore. They do have an event scheduled for the fall, so I'm guessing that's not going to be going on, and if it currently is still scheduled to, it will not be taking place. I'm just going to share a few more TikToks of other perspectives from attendees or authors that were there. And, this is all still kind of, coming out. There's still a lot of things we don't necessarily know yet, but plenty of people posting about this. And, you'll get your fill if you are interested in more opinions.
Everything that has been said about a million lives has already been said. So their stories are the same as mine. I can give some thoughts that I have as someone who has been in the trade show industry for a very long time, that a majority of my career was spent making trade show materials and going to trade shows and exhibiting at them for engineering firms and manufacturers. There were some red flags, I'll be honest with you. The whole communication process was done through Discord primarily, and occasionally she would send out some emails, but they were few and far between. Basically, the entire thing was organized, she would give out information piecemeal through Discord through the questions that you asked. But everyone seemed to trust her, and I was like, well, I am a small-time indie author, and maybe they know her, maybe I don't know what's going on. There are too many authors signed up for this to be a scam, so maybe she's just unorganized. So driving down, I literally said to my friend, she's my assistant when we go places, she's my best friend, I was like, we're gonna spend a weekend in Baltimore. Worst case, it's the Fire Festival, and we got to hang out for a weekend. And that's exactly what it turned into. My throat is raw because I gave myself an asthma attack while I was there. And so I've coughed until I sound like I smoke 4 packs a day. Anyway, I knew we were absolutely cooked when I walked into the convention center as someone who has done trade shows and conventions and small book fairs, that we were cooked when there was no signs. Like no signs at all directing anyone to the Million Lives Book Festival, to the small corner dungeon basement that it was in. And that when I got to that small corner after being directed there by convention center staff, that the only sign that was there was like maybe an 11 by 17 printed with Arial font, A Million Lives Book Festival, taped to a piece of foam board. We were not signed in. I could have been some random person on the street who had heard about this book festival and wanted to exhibit without paying a table fee because no one ever checked whether I was Caitlin Platt there to exhibit my books. And all of us, we on Friday were like, no one's here. This place is a ghost town. But it is a Friday. Who goes and takes off work on a Friday to go to a book fair, right? Maybe everyone will show up on Saturday. Because she confirmed multiple times that there were 500, at least 500 in the beginning when she confirmed to me, because I had never done a 2-day book festival and I wanted to kind of like gauge how much stock to bring. So I ordered for 500 people. For the percentage of 500 people, which is normally like 10 to 20% of the overall attendees. So I had 100 books. I never have 100 books. Some books I had to order, and I ordered 50 of those, and that was $300. I happen to have quite a bit of my first book on hand when I left my publisher, so that I didn't have to order, thankfully. And the hotel room was $560 after tax and fees. And then there's the drive down, and the food was expensive. A bottle of Coke was $5. Taco Bowl was $20. If you wanted breakfast at the hotel, that was $30, which I didn't do. I ate like a leftover cheesecake. We literally ate leftovers. When we realized that we were screwed and we weren't making any money, we just started scrounging. Where can we save money? Where can we save money? The lies are just so weird. The badges got shattered. Badges for conferences are usually like a rubbery plastic thing, so unless you ordered glass badges, but why would you? I don't know how they could have gotten shattered. The convention center apparently threw out all of the decorations and swag bags, but as someone, again, who has done conventions, they just don't throw out things. No, they just don't throw out boxes thinking they're trash. They will confirm with the organizer what those things are, unless you just didn't mark the boxes in anyway. And still, they would hold them for a little bit of time and figure out who it was. And if they did throw it out, you can file a claim. So this is way too long. Yeah. Anyway, if you stuck around through all of this, I am Caitlin Platt. I write romantic fantasy and fantasy romance. I have a book about a monster hunter who's reluctantly partnered with a creature who feeds on agony and bliss and finds herself sharing more than she bargains to keep them both alive. And I have a series about a time mage trapped in a recurring war with a creature bent on destroying the universe who stole her husband as his vessel. So it's her journey across time and space to get the man she loves back and stop the end of the world. And they were all available for sale there. I have lots of stock, so if you'd like some copy, just go to my website.
So I'm going to leave you there. As I said, this is still an ongoing situation. There are still videos being posted quicker than I can even watch them. So there's probably going to be a lot more talk about this event over the next few days and weeks. So yeah, let me know if you've heard anything about this. What do you think of this whole situation? Although I don't really see the other side of this one. But I would love your thoughts and opinions. And yeah, please check out those links below where I am, you know, at least the ones I could find, trying to promote these authors that really got screwed over. And yeah, stay away from this company because there's nothing good there. So thank you so much for watching this. I know this was not a nice, upbeat, funny one, but hopefully this will help someone from not letting these people scam in the future. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of it, make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!